also knew of his story that he was an alien super soldier sent to Earth to save humanity as well. Lash was diagnosed with cancer also, and gave instructions to his fiancée that when he died, his people would take care of him and to not worry about it. Not only was she told this, but her assistant was told this as well. Both females actually believed the story so much that on the moment of his death, they abandoned his body in a parking lot, fleeing to Oregon out of fear that Jeffrey Lash's associates would kill them for knowing too much. At this stage, the assistant, Dawn Vadbunker, apparently didn't let her family know that she was leaving the state, so they reported her as missing to the police. After 2 weeks, the two women came to their senses, though, and decided to return to Los Angeles. When they returned, they also went to the parking lot to see if Jeffrey Lash's body was removed, only to find it decomposing where they had left it 2 weeks before. Now they saw they had made a grave mistake. They then contact a lawyer, Harland Braun, asking that he contact the local police and report the incident. In the initial investigation, the police not only find the decomposing body, they find a cache of weapons and ammunition. 1,200 guns and 6 tons of ammunition was found, and much more is thought to be scattered throughout Los Angeles, all belonging to Jeffrey Lash. With no rational explanation for how he was able to buy these weapons or obtain the money in order to do it, he also had $17,000 in cash on him and owned 17 vehicles. Some of these vehicles were also militarized and capable of traveling on water and in harsh terrain. Though we can easily say that him being an alien is nothing but hogwash, what about the money? What about the guns and ammunition? Reports made from the police department say that nothing illegal was committed. These vehicles and guns with their ammunition was legitimate, and no crimes were committed in order to obtain them. The fact that a human body was able to sit in a parking lot in the middle of Los Angeles is strange enough. Now we come to the third category of alien believer. I like to call these the category that consists of the gray area. This area has a lot of people who are really smart and diligent in their efforts to find evidence of extraterrestrial, but are also mixing it up with folklore, conspiracy, and things of that nature. I watch videos done by a cosmonaut who monitors the International Space Station. He shows good evidence concerning lights that streak across space and in our atmosphere. These occur regularly. Some video evidence showed that these lights form from UFOs while they are being filmed. The problem is this: even though the cosmonaut has the video, he constantly talks about the Illuminati conspiracy too, without information from the people. Then he goes on into the spill about the dark government and their plot to control society. I don't care how smart you are, what you have for credentials, or what job you have had in the past. When the word Illuminati comes out of your mouth, all credibility is gone. With the first category of believers, they state that out of all the investigations they perform, only 5% are credible. To be credible, there has to be something that is not able to be explained. Most of the sightings that are found are either explainable or they are thought of as a hoax. There are plenty of people out there, too, who have this insatiable desire to come up with a good hoax. They will go the extra mile to convince people of a conspiracy, alien sighting, or ghost haunting, just so they can say that they fooled someone. I've found a few myself. One was concerning UFO sightings in Mexico. The video was supposed to show a glowing object racing across the video feed. The only problem is they had another smaller object that was glowing racing the other direction below the object. This is nothing more than a trick using a pulley in order to create the effect. In order to find good, credible evidence, it is always a good rule of thumb to attempt to debunk the evidence first. I encourage it on every post I put on my page. The classic model of scientific inquiry derives from Aristotle, who distinguished forms of approximate and exact reasoning, setting out the threefold scheme of abduction, logic, inductive, proposed assumption to a conclusion, and inductive, generalization, inference, treating combined forms such as reasoning by analogy, similarity. In 1877, Charles Sanders Peirce characterized inquiry as not a pursuit of truth. He considered it as the struggle to move from irritating, restraining doubts born of surprises, disagreements, and to reach a belief on which one is prepared to act. He framed scientific inquiry as a part of a broader array of varied but related ideas that goads and urges like general inquiry. He held mere verbal and exaggerated doubt as fruitless and outlined 4 methods for settling opinions that he ordered from least to most successful. The method of tenacity has a policy of sticking to initial beliefs, which leads to comfort and is decisive, but also ignores contrary information and others' views, leading to believe that truth is actually naturally private and not public. It goes against the social influence and usually falters when it is easy to tell that other person's opinions is genuinely as good as one's own opinion. Its successes can shine, but usually doesn't endure for any significant amount of time in history. The method of authority sometimes overcomes disagreements brutally with lofty success, but cannot work thoroughly enough to suppress doubts that are learned when discovering different societies from both the past and the present. The method of the priori supports conformity with less brutality than the method of authority, but fosters the idea that opinions are something of taste. It makes comparisons of perspectives in terms of what is agreeable to reason. It is based and dependent upon fashions of molds and standards with a specific theme and a framework consisting of basic assumptions on ways of thinking according to methodology. The scientific method purposefully considers itself fallible and tests, criticizes, corrects, and improves itself. Peirce held that the slow and stumbling process of reasoning can be inferior to instinct and traditional sentiment in practical matters. The scientific method of Peirce should be suited to theoretical research and shouldn't be hindered by the other methods and practical ends. Reason's first rule is that in order for someone to learn, he must first want to learn, and proposed conclusions should not hinder inquiry. The scientific method is by far the most secure method because it was deliberately designed to eventually arrive at the most secure belief on which the most successful practices can be based. Starting, of course, with the idea that people did not really search for truth, but the ability to subdue irritating and hindering doubts. Peirce showed that through struggle, people can admit to truth for the sake of the integrity of beliefs. Seek as truth the guidance of potential practice correctly to its goal and uniting themselves to the scientific method. For Peirce, rational inquiry represented presumption or an assumption beforehand, an antecedent condition that takes for granted truth and the real in advance. To reason is to assume, and at least to hope, as a principle of the reasoner's independent control, that the real is discovered, and the independence of our unprecedentable and erratic opinions. In this system, he defined truths as an exchange offered and suggested for consideration to its form, doing this from a practiced point of view and consideration with reference to their causes, antecedent conditions, and results. Without or not as actual majority opinion of some definite finite community which suggests